Hello and welcome back to Pin My Podfics. This will be a reading of Zutopia, Chapter 8, Adventures in the Deep Sea and a New Friend by Itslivybear. Now, the chapter summary... Also, one thing before we start is that this is very rushed because I'm just recording like as much as I can before I go on vacation and have barely any time to record. So if there's sound from outside, I will not be re-recording this, unless I make a shit ton of mistakes. So this, if you hear anything, any noise, that's gonna be, if there's any noise, that's gonna be in here. Anything in the background, it's not gonna be cut out. This is this is so rushed. Now onto the chapter summary. We play another game, and then we make a new friend.
This game,
Nedzu explained to Izuku and Aizawa,
is called Deep Sea Adventure.
There's another name that I like to call it, of course, but
I do believe that manages to get the point across quite well.
He opens the small blue box with a picture of a submarine on it. It was about the same size as the insider box, perhaps made by the same company? He took out a black disc, fairly small, a cardboard submarine, 3 person-shaped pieces, and little tokens with numbers on one side. First, he laid out the pale blue triangles that had a single dot on the back, and then the slightly darker squares that had 2 dots, then the darker still with 3, and finally the midnight blue hexagons that had 4 dots on them, all in a line, down below the submarine.
As you can see, there are 4 levels of treasure, for that is what we are trying to get. You will roll the dice. Note they are numbered 1 to 3, so the most you can get is 6. And there are 8 of each type of treasure. The more dots on the back, the larger the range of points. The first set is under 4, the second 5 to 9, and the third 8 to 14, and the last are 12 to 16. Very exciting.
Aizawa frowned. There's overlap.
Ah, yes. And you don't know what you get until you get it all the way back to the submarine successfully.
Izuku nodded. Why are there numbers on the submarine?
Ah, that is the oxygen level. As soon as someone starts a turn with treasure in hand, we move down 1 oxygen for every piece of treasure. Here, let me explain the turns so you can better see how to get treasure.
He took one of the person-shaped pieces and put it on the submarine.
First comes oxygen, but since I haven't left the submarine yet, I couldn't possibly have treasure. After that, I rolled the dice.
He did just that, getting a 2 and a 1, to make 3. He moved the person down 3.
I have landed on a treasure. I can now choose whether or not I would like to pick it up. In this case, I have no reason to, so I will decline. At that point, my turn is over, since there is nothing more I can do.
He arranged other pieces on the board, putting the other 2 people nearby.
If the situation was like this, and I rolled another 3, I would then make a choice. I could keep going down, or decide to turn back. Since I have no treasure, it seems foolish to return to the surface. But please note that once you turn back, you can only go up. Now, I roll a 3, for example, but someone is in my way. Fear not. No one can ever occupy the same space, so if you encounter another diver on your way, you simply jump over them.
He moved his piece down, skipping the space that had the other players on them.
Now, another thing that treasure is bad for is movement. If you have treasure when you move up, back to the submarine, you must subtract the amount from your roll. The treasure is heavy, you see, and drags you down.
He swept the pieces back to the submarine.
At the point if you turn where you could pick up treasure, you can also choose to drop treasure in case things get too heavy for you.
Izuku frowned at the submarine. What happens if the submarine runs out of oxygen and you're still out there?
Nedzu grinned. That is where the game's other name comes in. If On your turn, you lower the oxygen to 0. You finish your turn, and then everyone left in the ocean is forced to drop their treasure in stacks of 3 to the bottom of the treasure line.
Aizawa narrowed his eyes. And what is this other name?
Why, the Everyone Dies game.
Izuku thought that was a pretty good name, all things considered, because in the first round he tried to get back, but the dice were just not working for him, and his 2 treasure pieces sank to the bottom of the ocean. Apparently, stacked treasure at the bottom counted for 1 piece of treasure, so if you could get down there, it might be worth your while, but you had to get down there first. There were 3 dives to a game, and they ended up playing twice, thankfully, so Izuku was able to get a handle on it in time to not die quite as often. Still, ambitious plays were high risk, high reward, and if you could get back to the sub in time, you made a lot of points. Nedzu ended up winning the first game, Aizawa in second, and Izuku in last. But Izuku managed to pull out a come behind win in the second game, which he felt very proud of. When Aizawa went back to teaching class, Izuku and Nedzu cleaned up the game, and Nedzu struck up their casual post-game conversation.
So, what did you learn?
Izuku hummed. There are some things you need to sacrifice to get better things later. And also, you'll never get far if you don't take any risks. Nedzu chuckled.
How interesting.
Izuku liked to take walks when he wasn't with Nedzu. He had met Uraraka at the park after all, but mostly he liked being outside and people watching. It was something he had done more passively before, but now he actively sought to categorize people as part of his education. Analysis and observation were both skills he was keen to improve upon. That's probably why he noticed the otherwise really tall boy trying to make himself small. He watched for a while, trying to figure out what was wrong. The boy was tall with silvery hair and wore a mask to cover his lower face. He had 3 sets of arms connected with a fleshy web, and only the top 2 were actually hands clutching his bag, while the other 4 were ears and eyes, watching and listening to his surroundings. He watched the boy tense as a group of school children around their age and in the same uniform as the boy round the corner. He tried to duck his head, but he was easily a foot taller than Izuku, so huge for an elementary school student, because the other kids were definitely elementary schoolers. The group of 4 spotted him and their leader sneered. Izuku began to frown, remembering the searing explosions, long fingers, and red wings. The leader had bright red hair, but otherwise no one had any visual indication of quirks. Oh, that person can change their skin color to that, like a cuttlefish. That's neat. Oh, Shoji! The leader called out in a sing-song voice, and Izuku leapt up from his bench and walked over to the taller boy. Shoji! He smiled at the surprised boy and made sure that he was really loud. I've been looking for you. Auntie will get worried if we don't make it back soon. Come on. He gently tugged on the boy's hand, and the top one, that was actually a hand. Not sure of etiquette. And the taller boy let himself be led away. Izuku glanced behind them as they rounded a corner and saw the 4 bullies, because that's definitely what they were, looked confused and irritated. But then they just walked off. As soon as they were officially out of sight, he released the other boy. I'm sorry to jump you like that. You just didn't look comfortable and they didn't look nice. The boy blinked, clearly confused, and one of the ears shifted to a mouth. How did you know my name? Izuku flushed. The redhead, the leader, he said it out loud. I happened to be paying attention. Sorry, I know we don't know each other. It must be weird. He frowned, then nodded, resolute, and smiled up at the silver-haired boy. But I'm Izuku Midoriya, so now we're even. Shoji Meso. He grinned. Nice to meet you. Anyways, sorry again. How did you know I needed help? Izuku blinked, and the grin fell from his face. He smiled sadly. Like recognizes like, I guess. Shoji said nothing for a moment, then sighed and stood a bit straighter. Thank you for helping me. I'm sorry for the inconvenience. How can I repay you? Izuku giggled. It wasn't an inconvenience at all. There's no need to repay me. I was just doing what I wanted. I should be thanking you for not finding me creepy. Shoji shook his head, pulling up the mask when it slipped a little. Still, you saved me from having to deal with them today. Can I buy you a snack? Izuku pouted. Clearly this kid would not be deterred. He could try one of his psychology techniques, but convincing someone to not do something was a little harder than convincing them to do it. He could always threaten him, or run, or maybe just act crazy and creepy so the boy would want nothing to do with him, but that didn't seem genuine. And he seemed like a really nice kid, someone Izuku would love to get to know more. Tell you what, you can buy me an ice cream as long as I ask you about your quirk. Shoji looked alarmed. My quirk? Izuku nodded. Yeah, it's really cool. You can change the ends to whatever you want, right? Is it just eyes, ears, and mouth? Or how can you talk out of a mouth on the end of your arm? Does it also make vocal cords? If you were underwater, could you use a nose or a mouth to breathe even if your head was underwater? He blinked and backed off, realizing he had gone too close and the boy was looking rather flustered. Sorry, I got excited. Shoji blinked, but took in the deflated boy scuffing his shoe on the sidewalk and smiled under his mask. Okay, let's go get ice cream. I'll see about answering those questions. Apparently, Shoji was getting bullied for being a mutant, specifically for having a weird mouth. Izuku was incredibly excited to see said weird mouth, but knew that was not something he would get in the first meeting. Shoji also got cookie and cream ice cream, which Izuku solemnly declared an acceptable flavor. But Shoji was not nearly as impressed with Izuku's pistachio. They use almond extract to flavor it, you know that, right? He huffed, taking another bite of the artificially green ice cream. I know, but it's still tasty, plus it's green. The only other green ice cream flavor is matcha, and that's what my mom eats. No thanks. Shoji chuckled. Matcha is a fine flavor, but it's good to know that you are partial to green things in general, Midori. I suppose it comes with the name. Izuku narrowed his eyes. The first syllable in your given name means I. The second means elephant. Not sure where I'm going with this, but it's somewhere. Shoji snorted. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure where you're going with this either. He glanced at the clock on the wall and sighed, feeding ice cream into various arm mouths. Apparently, a lot of the structures you need in a regular mouth got made too, so it pretty much functioned as normal, with some extra tubes running up the arms to move the food, water, or air, depending on what he needed, to the correct places. It was really cool and, honestly, a super sophisticated quirk. I have to go. My older sister is probably wondering where I am, and I don't want her to tear apart the city looking for me. He stood up, then paused. Thank you again. Izuku smiled. You know, I'm in the park pretty often after school. Maybe we'll see each other again. He imagined the solemn, tall, bully boy smiling under his mask. Yeah, maybe we will. Izuku watched him leave, waving before he allowed himself to really and truly get angry. Shoji was really cool and really nice, and he was being bullied for something as dumb as his appearance? It was ridiculous. In this day and age of quirk, that mutant discrimination was still a thing, and among 8-year-olds no less. Zuko threw away his empty bowl and practically stalked back to his house, already thinking up of how he was going to word this email to Nedzu. If I'm not in tomorrow, I'm sending a school and its bullies some thinly veiled threats and fighting mutant discrimination. Yeah, that would be fine. Nedzu would understand. He got in, said hello to his mother, and immediately went to his computer. He already had the name of the elementary school, having gotten it out of Shoji in their conversation, so he knew where to start looking. Luckily, it took almost no digging to find last year's yearbook, showing all the students. There was the chameleon kid, the other two goons that didn't have any defining features other than a horrible nose on one and greasy hair on the other. And there was the redhead. Now he had their names. He had set up a new email address after realizing he still had his childish one from when he was younger. Disregard that 8 is still young. He was more sophisticated now. And it was perfectly professional and also untraceable. So really, it was perfect for this task. If he ended up sending the discrimination laws, links to therapists, and a step-by-step guide on the best way to dissolve a body, then he was just doing his best as a friend. Shoji was nice and these people were not. So it was simple, really. He also decided to send an email to Shoji, but then realized he hadn't gotten the other boy's email, and getting it from the internet and or doing some digging like he had for the bullies was probably really creepy, and he had already been bad enough with the multitude of questions. Best not push it. Plus, with any luck, he'd see him again tomorrow. It was always nice to make new friends. Mezzo wasn't sure what happened, but almost overnight, Takashi and his cronies started avoiding him. Anytime their eyes met, they would flinch and pale. Some tried to offer smiles and even tried being nice with him, which was incredibly strange, to say the least. But at least they weren't pulling down his mask, calling him names, excluding him from everything, throwing things, and generally making his life hell. Mezzo considered it a win, even if he didn't understand how it happened or why. Maybe that Midoriya kid was a good luck charm. Maybe he'd see him again after school today. Mezzo would like that. And that was the end of Chapter 8, Adventures in the Deep Sea and a New Friend, from the fic called Zutopia by Itslivybear. Sorry if there's so many mistakes in this one, but it's honestly very, very rushed, because why not? Because it is rushed, not because of that, it's rushed because I have limited time, and I will not be having more time to record throughout the whole summer, because, when you're about to go on a vacation and travel, you don't really have much time or privacy to yourself. So, I don't know. I mean, I know there's gonna still be a couple videos coming out, like one-shots and stuff after this video, but I'm gonna have to, there's gonna be weeks in between, actually a couple days in between uploads like before, but it's gonna be more spaced out. I'm gonna try to post as much as I can and record all I can, but it's not guaranteed. So have a good whatever time of day it is. Have a good rest of your day, and hydrate or die straight. And that's it. Yeah. Bye.